All right, all right. Whew. A little live. Let's do it live. Uh, First thing let's do here is have a quick check-in. Audio, video. How's it sound? If it looks and sounds all right, make sure you hit me with your favorite emoji in the chat. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll do my best to make it happen. But now is the time. A little Super Bowl week. Capella. Boom. I know I still need to get my graphics back for the live. I'll get to it at some point. Right now we be coursing. Coursing's killing me. It's fun though. I'm excited to share it at some point, hopefully soon. New course. It's massive. When I tell you it's massive, it's massive. Excited though to be able to kind of put the final touches on it here and get this thing cranked up. My man Shane, good to see that we got some regulars in here. My man Chase, all good. Love to see it. Again, thank you for supporting the channels, being a members, getting that QB School logo after your name. Appreciate it. The truth. Hit me with your favorite emojis. Keep them coming. Do me a favor. Whatever your take, smash, crush, like, hit that like button for me. Crank this thing up, and we will be getting it going. So if there are questions, now is the time. Never better than with 30 of our closest friends here getting this thing cranked up and going right out the gate. So I will try to get to as many as I possibly can, and we'll see how long this thing goes. Let's see what we got first. Griffin, Harbolt. Why would you say are the disadvantages or advantages of QBs using a wristband? This is a good one. I feel like I might have talked about this maybe in another live. I could probably do a video on this because I get this question a decent amount. For me, the major benefit is also a constraint for the wristband. The first is that, or really two sides of the same coin, it's easier for the quarterback to just read it, right, than necessarily to get a signal or to hear it and get a play. You know, if it's a 12-word play, it's easier to hear just like, hey, play 33, and then you just read it. So that part of it is easier for the quarterback. I think the bummer side of that, the reason that it's easier is then you can't change it. So say something happens over the course of the game and you want to change a play from maybe you've been doing it with like a man coverage element on one side, a zone coverage on the element on the other side. Well, now you're in a zero game. Well, maybe, you know, hopefully you have a zero call on the play sheet, but if it's not already on there before the game, you can't really get to a whole lot of in-game adjustments. Now, the pushback to that is, hey, not every play needs to come from the wristband. Some teams, I've been around some really smart, sharp coaches and players that like the long plays, even if they know them and have practiced them all week, to still be on a wristband, just to be able to read it, as opposed to making sure you memorize it and the syntax and word order is correct when you say it in the huddle. And so I like kind of a hybrid model if you're at the absolute elite level. But I think for most levels, you don't really need it, especially if there are simple enough play calls. And I just personally don't like it as a play caller, offensive architect, to be constrained to, you know, this way. And even if it's, say you can fit 300 plays on a wristband, and you might be able to on ones that flip up so you get 3 sheets, you know, it's not that you need 300 plays, because you definitely don't. But to say that we're only going to run these plays this way, I think kind of, you know, you're hamstringing yourself there by constraining yourself when you don't need to. But that's just me. All right, what else we got? Steven Johnson, could you do a play-by-play of the Super Bowl with the defense and offense for each play? I mean, I could do anything I wanted, I guess. I'm not sure I will do that just because I'm not that interested in it, but maybe for like the Patreon community, would do something like that. I mean, that's a lot of work, bro, for, you know, a game that people have already seen. I don't know. Maybe, you know, if I get enough kind of requests for that type of stuff, I could get to it. What else we got? The truth. I tried to read yours and I couldn't tell what the hell it was asking me, so I apologize. Zachary Davis. Hey JT, are quarterback progressions in the passing game always tethered to their footwork, or is it something exclusively to the West Coast offense? So much of today's NFL is from gun, so it makes me wonder. So is the progression always tethered to footwork? I mean, I, I'm sure that there are some offenses that are a little bit looser than others, but I would generally want to say yes. And what I mean by that is, maybe it's not, explicitly, 5 and a hitch or 5 no hitch, 3 no hitch, that type of stuff, but it's more just common sense. Like if we're throwing a 1-step hitch or a 1-step slant, well, we don't want to take a 5-step drop, right? Like it doesn't make sense. And so as a general overarching rule, I would say yes, but I would also take it from the caveat that depending on the system, will probably matter about the details and kind of boxes that maybe they put certain quarterbacks in. And I've been around some guys that are just more fluid, kind of shuffling and like timing it up and being into a rhythm into certain things, as opposed to, and I've also been around some coaches that are kind of jerks about it and are like, hey, this is a 3 no hitch no matter what. When I would say, hey, 3 no hitch to me is not my favorite drop. I've been in the league 8 years. It's not my favorite drop. I don't feel like I'm as good as I am with a shuffle and a hitch. It times up the same. If I take a shuffle hitch, it's the same as 3 no hitch. I'm basically at the same landmark for the offensive line as far as depth. Why can't I just do that? And you would see some coaches would be furious at me, and other coaches would be like, hey, that makes sense. Great, let's do that. You do that. And so, I've been in quarterbacks' rooms where I'm the only one doing that, and it works fine because that worked better for me. I preferred that type of footwork. And so I think that there's ways to kind of get around it. I never would say, hey, be crazy rigid, but I would also say that there's a timing element that when you're in a timing offense, and I would say damn near every NFL offense has timing elements to their drop back passing game, that the footwork of the quarterback has to be tethered to the depths and expectations for the wide receivers and eligibles. Boom. King Robinson. I have no idea, bro. What do you think Carolina should pick at 6? No idea. Carson Strong. Haven't watched very much. This time next week, after we get through the Super Bowl videos, we will be into the draft. So I know there's a bunch of diehard draft peeps out there. I love draft season. I think it's fun for the channel, fun for me to see people schemes that I'm not very comfortable with. That college football all 22, I definitely don't pretend to be the expert as far as what some of these schools are doing. So I'm excited. There's a bunch of guys that I'm excited to watch and kind of break down that I haven't, as I kind of continue to try to collect all 22 from all corners of the internet. So yes, we'll get to it. I have no idea, who's going to be the quarterback first off the board. I honestly haven't been paying that much attention to it, just because I prefer to kind of come into it with kind of as blank of a slate as I possibly can. I think I've put out a handful of, I might have done 1 or 2 Carson Strong videos. Certainly think I've done a Malik Willis video. And so be right kind of peppering those guys again with a couple other ones that are potentially kind of high draft picks. But if there are guys that you want to see that you don't think I would get to in a normal kind of draft cycle, and you have the all 22, hit me up and we'll make it happen. Boom. All right. NC Combo 2004. I have to work on that name. Is Doug Pederson a good fit for Trevor Lawrence? We'll see. I love Doug EP. Played with him in Green Bay. Big fan of Doug. The dude, one of the best signal stealers ever back in the day. Fun to see him and Brett kind of go back and forth. Good old boys back in that quarterback room. We'll see. I don't know. I would hope that Doug has kind of evolved away from that, like what I consider what they were doing in Philly with that like crazy amount of RPOs, into kind of a mixture of what that looks like for Trevor and what he can do, and what that hopefully that offense can evolve to be explosive. But I think it's potentially, he's certainly a quarterback friendly coach, and if you're trying to groom a number 1 pick, you could do worse. That's for sure. We'll see though. Jason Nelson, can the Bengals O-line hold up to the Rams D-line? No. Damn, you just ruined the Super Bowl, bro. We'll see, man. I don't know. I hope that they find ways to allow Burrow to have a game that I think he kind of deserves on this stage. And what I mean by that is just having the opportunity to throw. And I think you can do that a few different ways. They've been kind of good at getting the ball out quickly, whether it's on the perimeter, whether it's in like fade type throws, but you got to hit those throws too. And so I don't know, man. I don't straight up, 5-on-5 or 4-on-5? No, they can't. But I think they can hopefully cobble something together that allows it to be a good game and allows Burrow to thrive on that stage. Hopefully. Oh, man. Maisha in the house. Appreciate it. Bo Jackson or Walter Payton? I mean, I think everybody, I don't know. I think the easy answer is Walter Payton. I personally probably prefer Bo Jackson. Used to have a photo. I had the shoulder pad with the bat photo of Bo Jackson. Remember Bo Jackson killing it in Tecmo Bowl? I personally still think it's weird when I see somebody on the Raiders in 34. Plus, I can't imagine playing Major League Baseball and the NFL. I know he's not the only dude to do it, but I feel like he did it at the highest maybe level of both of them. No offense to Deion Sanders, but I don't think Deion Sanders was ever a Major League Baseball all-star caliber type player. So, I don't know. But, man, my mother-in-law's going to be mad at me that I didn't say the Auburn player, but I would probably go Walter Payton. But you could do worse. Either one of those, man. It would be tough to two special dudes. I love it, though. Griffin, you got a bunch of good questions. I can't get to every single one, but I will do this one here. Any favorite tight end based screen concepts? So, sweet irony. I just finished the screen installation for the new course, which is a complete offense. And there are certainly some tight end screens. One of my favorite is off split flow action. So say you're running a bunch of split flow inside zone where that sniffer tight end is coming across to kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage, and they're running inside zone like a lot of wide zone teams run. Where zone teams run, I like that play action off of that. So you get that 7-person play action with the split flow action. And then if you run that a few times, you can hit it to that sniffer coming across on the split flow action out into a screen. So you get the play action and you get the screen element of it. It's a nice way to reward those sniffers too for so many kick out blocks and kind of being kind of run heavy if that's your world. And so I'm a big fan of that. Back in the day, I used to like the kind of like wide delay middle screen where you're kind of like faking a swing screen, faking a screen on the other side, pumping it to the middle. Sometimes I think that's a little gimmicky. The other one I like is kind of that, like, it's not really a screen. It's more of a play. I think most people refer to it as the oh shit screen, where you big play action fake to one side and the tight end kind of sneaks back out as a shallow. It's not really a true screen though. But the other one is, sometimes if the tight end is like your best athlete, and for instance, when I was with the Niners, Vernon Davis was a freak athlete. Now he sometimes wasn't, I didn't think necessarily, well, what's the right way to say this? We were struggling to get him the ball as much as I think he wanted and we wanted. And so ways to manufacture touches are to just get normal screens. So if but at the same time, would you rather throw a screen to Frank Gore or Vernon Davis? No, some guys might say 6-1, half dozen to the other. I'd probably lean towards Frank, but again, you got to get some touches to Vernon Davis, and if you're not doing it in the passing game for whatever reason, a screen is a nice, easy touch. Hey now. Shane, giving us the offensive secrets in the new courses. You'll be glad to take my money. I'm just warning you right now. I want to warn everybody that this next course will by far be the most expensive thing in the quarterback school kind of bank of courses, by far. So whatever you think that number is, you should probably raise it. And I personally think it's worth more than that, but I'm excited to share it. I really am. And I think people are going to dig it. And I think it's going to have an impact on anybody who kind of starts to incorporate it into their world of football. So I'm fired up to share it, but get your mind right. Get your mind right. Sean, appreciate the super chat. JT, love the content. Love your content. After 3 years of coaching Frosh, I am transitioning from wide receiver DB coach to quarterbacks and OC. What can I do to further prepare for this? Sean, I know an outstanding course that's coming your way very quickly. It's going to be expensive, but I think it will be worth it. I think you're in the right spot. I think there's a bunch of different online resources, communities that are available that can help you as far as you transitioning up the kind of chain of command there. Certainly you found this channel. I think that there are a bunch of other coaches that do it at a really high level, depending on what type of scheme you're getting at. They're really everything from like, iterations of T all the way to iterations of, RAID to certifications to things like that. The other thing I would challenge you with is to, as soon as you get as comfortable as you can in your scheme and whatever think you're going to be running, is to spend that amount of time and some on the other side of the ball, just to make sure you understand what the defensive rules are, what the defensive, rules that you're probably expectations and things you're going to be seeing over the course of your league. Just to have a decent idea. You don't need to have like a game plan already laid out, because who knows what you're going to evolve into as a team, but just a baseline understanding of, potential fronts, potential issues you would have with certain coverages, certain teams, certain unique things that they do, and then just continue to evolve and learn and be curious. I think that's one of the things that I've appreciated the most about what I think are the best coaches is, first of all, obviously they're great teachers and educators, but the other thing is they're just naturally curious people. And so if you're curious about, a certain pressure package, a certain type of pass protection, dive down the rabbit hole. There are so many resources available for everybody. And it's not just OCs, quarterbacks, and play callers. It's any type of coach really in any world. I know for me personally, as an example, I'm just really curious about any rotational athlete. So quarterback, pitchers, played a little bit of tennis in my day, by no means a tennis superstar. But golf, not really. But again, that rotational athlete, I'm not a biomechanics expert by any means, but I do think that there are a bunch of nuggets in that world that I'm fascinated by, and that, I find myself listening to podcasts or videos or subscribing to memberships to certain sites that I think provide significant value for that type of thing. And so just to be curious, and if you find something that you really enjoy, believe in, to dive into it and spawn and be part of that community. It's not just to, to give them some sort of revenue. I think that's a different part of it, but to really be part of that community that is curious about that together, you can really learn from. And there's so many pockets of knowledge like that across the internet that just keep diving, be curious, and talk to the people that kind of you think do it well, and ask them where they get their information. So lots. Coach Dre, what's up? Good to see you, dude. Coach Gray's making an appearance in the show this week too. Good to see you. Joe, hey-o. Joe, we got to get together at some point, homie. North County living. Joe, thoughts on the NFL expanding to play games in Germany next year? All right, you rolling with the Bengals? Good luck, homie. No. Yeah, thoughts on them going to Germany. I'm guessing that this came out like in the Roger Goodell presser. I didn't watch it, but I saw somebody reference it on Twitter yesterday. That's awesome. Obviously, I'm biased going over to NFL Europa 2 times, playing in Frankfurt Galaxy, getting smoked in the World Bowl both those years, but really having great experiences in Germany and in all over Europe, but really in Germany for that NFL Europe League. I think it's great. I think that there are pockets of fandom all over Europe, but I think Germany has got a kind of probably deeper pocket of fandom just because there are so many American bases over there. And so it has kind of interwoven into the sports culture a little bit, like nowhere near what, the Bundesliga or Champions League is over there, which are, Champions League is the high European soccer league. And then the Bundesliga is the local German kind of top tier soccer. But it's still, part of the sports culture over there, I would say a little bit. And I had a great time over there. It certainly reinvigorated my career twice. And so I'm excited. I would love a way. If anybody knows anybody in the league office that they're looking for ambassadors or people to go over there and grow the game a little bit, we're ready over here. The quarterback school could go international. Although I know that we do have our international people in the Patreon community and, people who watch the channel. It would be fun to get over there and help grow the game in a more global perspective, because it is overwhelming. If you don't know, the rules of American football, it can feel like, a bit of a, tidal wave of weirdness and Americanism to have so much violence and then kind of have a stop, because so many international sports, I think, are continuous, like soccer, rugby, those types of things, that it's weird when you see such a made-for-TV model of football with all the stops in action. But I'm a big fan. I'm excited to see it in Germany. I think it'll be fun. Boom. Shane, thoughts on the Mike McDaniel hire? I mean, not really any that I would like feel super comfortable sharing. I don't know Mike McDaniel at all. I think he's got a unique story about how he's gotten to this opportunity. I do think this is just me talking, okay? Like I think it's a little weird that some of these guys get head coaching opportunities that haven't called plays. And I don't know. I'm not in the booth. I'm not in their quarterbacks or office. Like, I'm sure I could probably reach out certain places to see exactly who's responsible for what. But if you're an offensive coordinator and you're not calling plays or haven't called plays, how are you getting these head coaching jobs? And guys like Eric Bieniemy aren't, because that's kind of the kind of the hot take about why Bieniemy hasn't gotten it. But even guys in Kansas City that were the coordinator, I mean, Andy Reid's calling the plays, right? Like, what am I missing? So, like, you know, what's the dude's name in Los Angeles? Kevin. I mean, he's not calling the plays, right? Like, in Green Bay, like, Hackett's not calling the plays, right? At least Hackett's called plays in the past, I guess. But, like, I don't know. So, and then when those guys get head coaching jobs, are they calling plays? So are you operating as the CEO, or are you, because you never call plays, like, you're not really getting hired because of your play calling, right? Like, it's one thing if you're like young Shanahan, who was a play caller and then got hired as a head coach and kept being the play caller. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just always fascinated by that. Like, I just don't know. I just think that there are so many great coaches that no one's ever heard of, that guys who are just in the right organization at the right time where the team is good, they all of a sudden are the candidates for all these jobs, and it's like the same recycled names, and I just don't understand it. I understand. It's kind of like timeouts. I've just come to understand that I value them more than others, just like I would go about the hiring process maybe differently than some of these other things. I just don't get it. I don't know, bro. And maybe I'm off my rocker. Maybe they call plays, and I just don't know what the hell I'm talking about either. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah, what else we got? Boom. Chase is snag, spot, quick game, or drop back. For me, I always tether it to drop back. I mean, you could make the argument that it's quick game, maybe, just because there's usually a flat element to it. But to me, it's drop back. And to me, that just means under center, you're taking 5. Quick game for me, you'd be taking 3. In gun, it'd be 1 or 1 in a shuffle. In gun, it'd be like 3 for drop back as just a starting point. Mike, I like it. Jokes, bro. We actually do run out of ice over here. We use a lot of ice. It's like summer out here, y'all. I don't know where you're at, but it's summer out here. It's 70 something. Should go to the beach next. Fire it up, run out of ice. Get the cooler going. It's that kind of day. All right. What else we got? Oh, Coach Gray's. Being a new OC, best advice to have 3 to 5 plays that beat every coverage and adapt to your personnel in your first year. I like that. I like that advice for sure. I know a great course that talks about beat every coverage plays. It's a good one. Nick Martin, why aren't the Cowboys in the Super Bowl? Lots of reasons, bro. Lots of reasons. Cooper Shaeffer, what's your favorite route to throw in the red zone versus 0? I mean, I do have a full course that talks about this, but just a handful of the ones that we'll talk about. I love throwing inside fades. I think they're super easy to throw. You get more room to work that kind of fade area. Versus 0, you know, thinking depending on what the leverage looks like on most of the defenders, assuming that it's usually off and inside. Don't love posts as much as maybe I would normally out in the field versus 0. Corners, you know, anything like corner whip or corner arrow where you get kind of a stretch on that. You can't go wrong. 0 in the red zone. It's touchdown time. Merle Garrett, I do not plan on joining anyone's staff, but I appreciate the question. Finn Wolf, is mesh 2 shallow crossers and a hook over it? Thanks from Germany. Deutschland. Danke for the question. that is an iteration or a version of mesh, two crossers with the hook over it. I would say I've run mesh different ways. It might be the most popular version of mesh. I think of mesh as just the two crossers. So it doesn't have to have that deep hook over it. I think a lot of people carry it with the deep hook over it. I've carried it as a coordinator with the deep hook and not the deep hook, and so I think it's either or. But I think if you wouldn't get wrong saying two crossers is mesh. Mike, my man, appreciate it. Super chat. How in-depth is your offensive line class about the offensive line? For example, blocking assignments, technique, use of hands. That is a great question. Not in-depth. So it's from a quarterback perspective. And so if you're looking for a technique like drive catch or anything like that, technique of hands, no. That's not necessarily where my bread is buttered as far as my level of expertise. I will give you just kind of the simple overarching things that I would give our offensive linemen at the to kind of baseline for what we do. And I think I hijacked it from LaCharles. But for me, just pure technique, pass pro wise, for most offensive linemen, whether you're half slide, you got a one-on-one, whatever it is, for us, it was always get the hell out of your stance, get back from the line of scrimmage, okay, whether it's driving back, kicking back, whatever term you want to say for it. And then we almost always never wanted to get beat inside. So kind of having that strong kind of kickstand hand to be able to make sure that you cannot get beat across your face inside. So get out of your stance, get depth, do not get beat inside, lose slowly, those types of things. But no, not a lot of specific techniques. There are a lot of blocking assignments. Yeah, blocking assignments meaning like, what are we doing in 5-person slide, 6-person slide, 6-person solid, play action, all of those assignments. That's in depth for the quarterback, must know those types of things. So where the hots are, where the adjustments are, where the redeclarations are, that absolutely is a critical part of the course and really the guts of the course. But as far as the technique for the offensive line, no, not O-line school by any means. Hey-o, we got multiple people hanging out from Germany, man. I'm excited. I need to get over there, y'all. Come on. The Quarterback School International needs to make a trip. We'll do a little Euro tour. That'd be fun. Let's see what we got here. Double Dribble 49. How do you think quarterbacks can get better at reading the field? Is it player by player, or is it all based on watching film and knowing how the defense plays? I think the answer is yes to most of those. I think the easiest way to do it, obviously, is to have probably good coaching to help you to create kind of a system, whether you're watching film on your own, whether you're watching ball, just to have an idea. I think the first thing when you're talking about learning to read the field, it's a combination of things, right? So a lot of people, trying to think if myself is included in this, reading the field is not necessarily to me the same as understanding the coverage, understanding your opponent. Sometimes I feel like some quarterbacks try to take on too much information and you almost get paralysis by analysis, being like, does it matter what the exact coverage is? If you're facing, say you're facing like a Saban bracket team, cover 7 team, which whatever, I don't know how crazy that is across a lot of lower level football, but we'll see it occasionally out here in high school football. Does it matter, what the technique of the corner is? Is it Meg? Is it Mod? Is it whatever? It's brackets. So figure out what the leverage is, and we're trying to work the leverage, and as a play caller, I'll try to create those best matchups for us. So at the end of the day, it's just about understanding the progression, understanding where the space is, understanding what your offense is allowing and asking you to do, and then kind of blending all that together. And so you can do that and, watch film on your own. See the shell. Is it closed? Is it open? Is it man? Is it zone? Are you getting information from motion and shifts? Or are you just kind of checking a box with the motions and the shifts? And so you start to put those things together, layer them together, and your understanding and the speed of the game really starts to slow down. And so you feel like you can see things clearer and start to anticipate. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of just find the one-on-one that you want, that the play is designed for, throw it to your best guy, those types of things. Never overcomplicate it by being like, they're playing combo coverages and we're getting hit with this crazy fire zone creeper pressure. Like, all right, that's great for the clinic season, but at the end of the day, we're throwing a one-on-one. And so let's make sure we throw it to the right guy on time and be accurate. Alexander Wilson, appreciate the super chat. Y'all, support for the channel means a lot to me. How important is touch in changing the speed of your passes? For example, Chris Cooley said he hated when the quarterback would throw a laser on a tight end screen. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to throw a laser on screens, most screens. I think touch is very important. Changing the speed of your passes, to me, that's more like changing the speed of like a pitch, that trying to fool someone. You don't really want to try to fool someone. But I think of it as kind of, I'm not a good golfer by any means, but I like the analogy of having multiple clubs in my bag. So do I want to use the driver to throw a screen? No. But do I want to use, like a wedge or something where I can get it up and over someone? Yeah. Like I've got to be able to have different throws, different touch throws. So do I want to use a driver off the tee and drive it 50 yards when I have to a big post? Yeah. But I also need to have some touch on a corner. And I also need to have some touch on maybe, an outbreaking route to the sideline, but also drive it in there enough. But it can't be a laser, because a laser is a smaller kind of radius for a miss. Your miss radius kind of goes a lot tighter the harder you throw it. If you throw it with a little bit more touch, a little bit on their face, you can have a wider miss radius so they can make an adjustment to it. So it's knowing those throws too and kind of getting it up and over secondary, linebacker type second level defenders to be able to throw those ins and overs over guys, but not have them get laid out by the safeties and the third level defenders. And so it's very important to have touch. It's a hard thing to practice touch. I think a lot of touch, what's the nicest way to say this? The best way to say this. I think some guys have naturally better touch than others. I think to me, it's always come back to what your arm path is. And for certain guys that are really short in their arm path, I think it's harder to have touch. I think certain guys that are long, you kind of, you certainly slow down your release with a long path, but you can play with the speed of your arm a little bit more to have more options of it. So it's probably somewhere in between is that perfect sweet spot. But if you're real short, like throwing darts, go out there and try to throw a dart with touch. It's hard. You can't really do it. It's like a little runner. So I think it does have something to do with that. And I get real nervous about changing arm pass or talking about that. I think it's one of those things that I think you can mess with it. I know I personally, as a player, mess with it a number of times, and I think you can change it. But man, it takes a significant amount of reps, and it's not something that I recommend or even think that is probably a good thing. So yes, touch very important. I think you can practice it certain ways. Like you see guys throw over goalposts or throw over like lacrosse nets, or throw over things and try to get it up and down, or throw in between goalposts, things like that. But it's not the easiest thing in the world to practice. Disregard Papa. Appreciate the super chat, sir. Your opinion on Zach Wilson after watching him. My opinion is that the Jets are not very good. I think that Zach Wilson probably struggled pretty significantly early on. I think he got hurt for a hot second and then came back and played better. I think that he's exactly what most people thought he was, as far as he's got some unbelievable arm talent. The NFL is not playing, BYU schedule. You're not going to have college open guys, but got flashes of throws that are pretty impressive. And the consistency of it and just the ability to be able to handle the NFL season over the course of a year, half a decade is just different. And you hope that team grows. But man, I mean, the talent that he was dealing with everywhere was probably not good enough to have the opportunity to go out there and have a really successful year. So I would just be patient, look for them to continue to build, look for him to kind of make comprehensive growth everywhere in his game, from, physically what he's able to look like, explosiveness, to what he's able to do with the ball, what the scheme's able to do, his comfort level, throws with a little anticipation, the consistency of it. All of those things come together to create kind of a better year two for sure. The Coach Dre, How to Beat Every Coverage. It's a good course. I feel like Pablo, maybe a silly question. Love silly questions. But what's going on when the tight end starts to motion across the line and then just turns around and comes back to where he starts? Never understood that. I think the easiest way to say it is it depends. The I like that motion because it doesn't change anything for the offensive line. You know, sometimes when you cross across anybody across the ball, specifically a tight end or sniffer, the front will adjust. And so if you don't want the front to adjust at all, and you want the front to stay the same or stay static, you can go kind of what most people call like a yo-yo motion, where you come across and go back, and you get the same benefit of a motion. So how do they adjust on the back end? Do they rotate safeties? Is it man to man? You get any sort of coverage clues, but you don't change kind of the static element of the front. The front is the front, as opposed to if you change the run strength, maybe they shift the front from an over to an under, or certain shades up front. And so I think that there are benefits to it. I also like it in kind of peak tempo, where maybe you don't know what play you want to get. You want to see if they want to, can give you any sort of coverage clues with it. And so it's just a nice, easy way to be able to do that. Also, some guys like to be on the move versus stationary. I think of a guy like Kelsey. I've never heard him talk about it, but I can tell, or I can assume from what they ask him to do, he does so many of those like walk motions where you're not really getting a whole lot of like motion advantage there, but you're not static either. So you can kind of eliminate somebody getting jacked at the line of scrimmage if you kind of move people in that yo-yo fashion. So I think that there are a number of ways to kind of take advantage of that. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it doesn't really change anything. Oh, JK1904. Is there any possibility we see an X's and O's video on the mesh concept? Probably not. Maybe. Man, that's kicking a hornet's nest for me. You got a lot of certs out there that certified would be able to probably do a better job than I could per se of doing that. I mean, I guess I could. Maybe. I got to think about it. Good idea. Oh, hey now, Alexander Wilson coming in hot. Cooley used to do film review in Washington, and he said Haskins had no touch and that he threw every pass as a fastball laser, which caused him to be very inaccurate. Was he describing that incorrectly? No. I mean, I think I kind of touched on it just by being able to say when you throw a fastball or when you throw the ball crazy hard, your room to miss is significantly smaller. Where if you throw it with a little bit of touch, you allow wide receivers to adjust to it easier. It's easier to catch, as opposed to like, turning your head and having like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball coming at it. If I turn my head and throw like a changeup, you have time to adjust and see that. And so when you're playing receiver or any type of eligible and you're running and your head's moving and there's defenders out there and you're in a helmet, you want the most catchable ball you can get. Now you also don't want, like a slow motion, like, kind of, what is it, hot air balloon drifting at you either. And so there's a fine line with that. But I do think that if you don't have touch, you can get exposed really quickly. Guys don't necessarily love to catch the ball that's a fastball all the time if it's not supposed to be. And so a screen would be a good example of, you want to throw it with some touch. You want to throw it, I used to call it like pulling the string on it. So you just want to, just nice, easy weighted ball. I think I stole this from Steve Young, but I think he said one day that he threw maybe a pick or two, and somebody asked him about it, and he just said, like, I throw a very catchable ball. And I think that there is some truth to that, where you do want to be able to throw a ball that is catchable. The other element to that is when you throw it hard and there's any sort of wobble to it. I'm not saying I had the most beautiful spiral of all time, by no means Warren Moon over here. But if you throw it hard and you got a little bit of wobble to it, it really is like catching like a medicine ball. As opposed to if you throw it with a little touch and it's not quite the same. I think of like maybe Peyton Manning sometimes, where the ball might not come off perfectly on his hand, but it still looked catchable. It was still really accurate. Now, he obviously world class at the position, but there's just a difference between, like, I can't tell you how many quarterbacks I've been around where the wide receivers are like, this guy's, throws the ball, terribly. And it's not that he doesn't throw it fast enough. It's almost too hard and it comes off his hand funky. It's like catching like an old TV that's weighs 20 pounds. It's just not fun about it. And so, it's certainly better. The other part about that, Alexander, is that the guys who are in the league at the league level, you have to have some baseline of a fastball. Now, it doesn't have to be, mid 90s, but you have to be able to make most of the throws. But the guys who are there usually have pretty damn good arms. So you're never going to have a guy who can only throw touch. They have to have some sort of fastball to be able to drive the ball in the league, just with the kind of space and windows that are available. And so it's easier to get guys who throw heavy gas, who have the arm strength, but maybe don't have the touch that they've had to show at lower levels of football, because they haven't had to. They haven't had to be asked to make all those different types of throws over the course of like college open or high school open. So hope that makes sense. Shane, you get my air raid jokes. Chad, hey, love the channel, buddy. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it. The Coach Dre, you gotta be careful, man. The course is coming. I'm telling you, I'm warning you guys right now. I don't want any heat for when this thing comes out and you're like, be pissed about it. I'm telling you, I'm very excited to share it. Fire it up. Charlie Doyle, do you think Tom Brady might unretire and play for the Niners for a year? No. Why is this a thing now? I don't understand, but maybe I just had my head down. Boom. Appreciate it, Coach Grays. Channel OG. How to beat every coverage. Some very cool plays. Winston Chong. Hopefully I said that correctly. Apologize if I didn't. Hey, JT, do you still lift? You got pretty big arms. Look at that, Winston. I appreciate it. Right to my sweet spot. You know what? I should share. I shared the first couple photos of the garage gym kind of in process, and it is the first phase is in. So now I've been in there for maybe a month or so. I got one more phase coming to kind of finish it out, but yeah, we're still getting back into the lifting thing. Pretty excited. I have fun with it. I do feel significantly better when I get a lift, and so it's just my own thing. I'm not going back to gyms anytime soon since I'm done coaching high school ball. Kind of lost access to that gym, so I needed to invest in one. I should have done it like 20 years ago, but I'm fired up. I love my home gym. Fired up for it. Alexander Wilson. What exactly is quarterback anticipation? That just means throwing the ball in short. It means a lot of things, but in short, it means throwing a pass before the wide receiver is looking is kind of the easiest way that I think of it. That's a good question. I should probably do a video on that because I talk about it a lot in videos, and like you hear me say capital A type of thing, like great anticipation. I think of it as just throwing it before the wide receiver or eligible. When I say wide receiver, it could be tight end, back, before the eligible is looking. So throwing it with anticipation means you're anticipating where someone's going to be, so you throw it before they break on like an out, on a glance, on an in, anticipation before they're open, so that you can basically throw them open. So it's a big part of playing quarterback at a high level. I personally think it's one of the most important elements at playing at a high level, as far as the precision to be able to execute the passing game at a high level takes great anticipation. I personally think it is something that you can teach. I've seen it. I personally have taught it at the high school level. We probably threw comebacks better than we threw damn near any route over the last few years, and it was because the guys bought into the footwork, the precision, the anticipation, the practice, the tempo of the ball. It's a perfect example of it not having to be a laser. Like most people think comebacks are like throw it as hard as I can, as far as I can to the far number. The much more of a take a certain drop, understand if it's free access or if the wide receiver is not getting bumped, that you can throw this thing with great anticipation. Big three, let it go, nice little like 4-iron, 12, 15 yards on the sideline, up on the guy's face, unstoppable. And so that's what anticipation is. A couple more here. Joe, you make me laugh. Joe Hauser, are you opposed to do more run game content? Joe, hell no. I love the run game. Run school. A few different things. I love the quarterback run game. Again, the new course that's coming out is a full catalog of runs. I'm probably more of a gap run guy, although I probably started as a zone run guy, and so I've kind of lived both lives. I love the run game, love gap run game, love the aggressive, the violence at the line of scrimmage, love teaching it, love coaching it, love calling it, love having a full catalog of different gap runs, and I think it's an attitude element of it. It just doesn't necessarily fall into the bucket of what this course is and what the expectations, I think, for people who watch the videos are. But I do love it, And if you are interested in the run game, you're going to love the next course. It is thick with some duo, with some power, counter, all sorts of different gap elements of it that I love. So yes, hell yeah, love me some run game. Noah, late to the live. Are you going to look at the college prospects this year? Yes. Hell yes. If you have certain guys you want me to see, hit me on Twitter, hit me in a comment. Not a live chat because I rarely go back and look at these, but usually the comments I'll do my best to read. Definitely Twitter if you hit at me. A couple more here. I got a little bit more. What else we got? Chess Piece 58. Hey JT, wondering when you would do your weights. Like when I was a player, I would probably do it in the morning before the day starts. That's how most people lift. Or after. Some guys lift after if they don't like to lift, then throw. I didn't lift that much, so I wasn't too worried about it. There was another one in here. Sorry, I had one. Oh, here it is. Cold Crush Corey. Alliteration. Hey JT, genuine question. As a Brit who loves the NFL, I can't get over how they call NFL champions world champions when it's an American sports league. Am I overthinking it? Just asking. No, hell no. But you're getting a nice window into how Americans think. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we do that for like baseball too. I mean, technically, I would say they probably are the world champion because probably not another country has a team that's going to beat them. But yes, I agree that it is kind of silly to not just say NFL champions. But we're in America over here, man. It's different. All right, that's a wrap. I might go get a lift in now. You guys inspired me. Other than that, maybe do one of these tomorrow. Be a little bit more Super Bowl centric. Maybe. Other than that, probably see you on the other side. We'll be coursing over here. As for that, get outside. Enjoy it if you can. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. See y'all on the other side.